Starting off this countdown, we have the Stagecoach painting. So this painting has a very dark and twisted backstory, so no wonder it's cursed. So in 1994, a photographer named James Kidd took a bunch of photos of stagecoaches in Tombstone, Arizona. However, upon developing the photos, he realized he captured a ghost of a headless man. And then a painter thought it would be a good idea to recreate this photo as an oil painting. So she painted this headless ghost man, and the ghost attached itself to the painting. Like seriously, what did she expect? So when the painting was complete, it was hung out of business. But a couple of days later, the business demanded that she take it back. Apparently, the painting was found crooked every morning, despite them constantly fixing it. They also blamed the painting for paperwork going missing and appointments getting messed up. The painting was just bringing them bad luck. So the painter brought it back to her home, and she started experiencing bad luck. Her garage roof started leaking, but roofers couldn't find the source of the leak. And when the painting was moved, the leak stopped. That's what you get for painting a photo of a ghost.
Wow, what a creepy painting. Let's move on to number 9 with the Pyramid of Skulls. Before I go any further, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up because it really helps us out. So the Pyramid of Skulls is just as it sounds. It's a painting of a bunch of skulls on top of each other. It was completed by painter Paul Cézanne. Now here's where it gets creepy. As Paul started getting older, he became fascinated by death. So from 1898 up until his death, all he would paint are these creepy paintings filled with skulls. This particular piece apparently emphasizes the fact that you need to confront death and reflect on it. Not only that, but his genre of painting is called memento mori, which translates into remember that you have to die. So if that isn't creepy, then I don't know what is.
Moving on to number 8, we have the Raft of Medusa. The Raft of Medusa was created by Theodore Géricault back in 1819. The painting depicts the real-life shipwreck of the French naval frigate Méduse. On July 5th, 1816, 147 men set sail on this raft. Only 15 managed to survive. But those that did survive turned to cannibalism after being severely starved. Just knowing that backstory makes the painting way darker than it already is. Back to you, Brie.
Alright, and at number 7, we have the Japanese girl drawing. This is another painting with a very dark backstory. So legend goes that a Japanese student was found dead in her room. This was the last image that she had drawn before taking her own life. In fact, she scanned this image and posted it online for everyone to see. But legend goes if you stare into this girl's eyes too long, then she will get you to take your own life as well. Some who have stared at it for a while have claimed that the portrait turns evil. The girl gets an evil-looking smirk on her face and dark circles appear under her eyes. If that's what evil looks like, then I guess I'm evil because I look like that in the morning.
Making our way down the list at number 6, we have the Mona Lisa. Now I know what you're thinking. Lindsay, how is this painting scary? Well, it's not. But its backstory certainly is. So there's this famous urban legend surrounding the Mona Lisa. Apparently, a French artist took his life because he was driven mad by the mystery of the Mona Lisa's smile. French artist's name was Luc Mapereau. On June 23rd, 1852, he threw himself from the 4th floor of his Paris hotel. Later, a note was found in his room that read, and I quote, "For years, I have grappled desperately with Mona Lisa's smile. I prefer to die." Sadly, that's all we know about this case and Luke. It was featured in a 1999 Smithsonian article and in a book from 1966. It's a pretty creepy case, and now I will never be able to look at the Mona Lisa the same.
Coming in at number 5, we have the Weeping Children. The Weeping Children are a collection of paintings created by a man named Giovanni Bragolin. Every painting features a little boy or girl crying. Now it's said whoever owns these paintings will face tragedy. So in this case, all of Giovanni's paintings are cursed. In fact, a string of house fires were all thought to have been caused by this painting. All of the houses that caught on fire were completely destroyed except for the paintings that remained perfectly undamaged. Take the case of Roy and May Hall. This couple owned one of these paintings. Their house unexpectedly caught fire and they almost lost everything, except for the painting of a crying boy that wasn't even blackened by smoke.
Yeah, I've heard of those paintings before. It's super freaking creepy. Okay, and at number 4, we have Zdzisław Bukowski. Look, I know I said his name wrong. Okay, I know I butchered it. just move on from it. Now, this dude has created a number of creepy looking paintings, but the scariest one is this one right here. It features this weird creature crawling with a bloody wrap on its head. Honestly, it really creeps me out. To make matters worse, apparently this painting is cursed, and if you see it 3 different times, then you'll die. Yeah, so we all just saw the image once, 2 more times, and bye-bye. Okay, I mean, there's no proof that this legend is real, but still, I never want to see that painting in my life ever again.
I agree, I never want to see that painting again. Okay, moving on to number 3, we have the collage of art balls. Here is another painting that can kill. So this painting is associated with a Japanese urban legend. Legend goes that if you look at this painting 5 times, then you will die. A little death note, but whatever. I mean, hey, at least it's 5 times and not 3 like the other painting Lindsay mentioned. Besides that, not a lot of people know much about this painting. It was painted in 2010, but we don't know by whom. And we don't know why it's cursed either. I mean, it's just a painting of a ball.
And at number 2, we have Watson and the Shark. This painting is a depiction of a real-life tragedy. It was created by John Singleton Copley in 1778. Basically, back in 1749 in Havana, Cuba, a visitor on the royal consort was the victim of a brutal shark attack. He lost his leg in the attack and was badly injured, but thankfully, he was rescued. This painting depicts just that, which is very dark.
And finally, in at number 1, we have Man Proposes, God Disposes. This painting was created by Edwin Landseer in 1864. It depicts Sir John Franklin's ill-fated expedition in 1845. This painting is how Edwin imagined their fate would be. But little did he know that he created an extremely cursed painting. So this painting is hung up in the exam hall at the Royal Holloway University of London. Rumor has it that in the 1970s, a student took his own life after staring at the painting while taking his exam. All he left behind was a note on his exam paper that read, "The polar bears made me do it."
Starting off this countdown, we have the Fairy Feller's Master Stroke. The Fairy Feller's Master Stroke is Richard Dadd's most famous Baroque painting. It's quite beautiful at first glance with all the flowers and intricate details. But turns out that Richard painted this while incarcerated in a state criminal lunatic asylum. In 1843, he suffered a psychotic episode which ended in him brutally killing his father with a razor and 5-inch knife. He then proceeded to hide the body and flee to France. But while fleeing, he tried to kill a fellow coach passenger and was arrested and brought back to England. And then he was locked away after telling authorities he was instructed to kill his dad by the Egyptian god Osiris. Moving on at number 9, we have the Charnel House. This is a piece created by none other than Pablo Picasso. It was first exhibited in 1946, and it is a very abstract piece. Well, turns out that the piece actually depicts a Spanish family that had been killed in their own kitchen. Picasso saw footage of this in a black and white documentary and was left shocked, to say the least. If you look at this piece, the lack of color is intended to symbolize the feeling of witnessing such violence on film. The longer and closer you stare at this image, the more you can interpret it. You can see the kitchen counter with the dishes up above, while a number of bodies lay on the floor below. That's what makes this painting very unsettling. At first you're like, whoa, what is this that I'm looking at? And then you're given the gruesome backstory, and then all of a sudden the abstract shapes form images. In our 8th spot, we have the cross-country killer drawing. This next piece of artwork features a cloaked figure holding a set of scales, while a 2-headed dragon casually chills below it. I'll leave it up to you for interpretation. Now, this cartoonish piece of work was actually created by Glenn Edward Rogers, otherwise known as the cross-country killer or the Casanova killer. He's an American serial killer that was convicted of 2 murders, but suspected of many more. In fact, he admitted to killing 70 people, but later he was like, nah, I'm just playing, I didn't kill that many people. So we really don't know his true kill count. Fun fact, if you want to buy this piece of work, you can. It's currently on sale for $200. Literally just because of who drew it. I don't know about you, but I do not want my home decorated by pieces made by serial killers. No thank you. Moving on at number 7, we have Christina's World. This piece of art was created in 1948 by Andrew Wyeth and features a young girl laying on the grass staring at a big home in the distance. Now, there's nothing necessarily sad or dark about this painting, right? Well, wrong. This painting is of Christina Olsen, a neighbor of Andrew, who was sadly unable to walk. As a young girl, she developed a degenerative muscle condition, possibly polio, but it was never diagnosed. This left her unable to walk, but she refused to use a wheelchair. Instead, she would crawl everywhere. This painting reflects the struggles she encounters on a daily basis. For example, her being so far from her home might symbolize how disconnected she feels with her abled family. It also highlights how it would be hard for her to travel great distances, as she would have to drag her body across that field to get home. With all this in mind, it really changes how you see this painting. At least it did for me. Moving on to number 6, we have Bernardo de Galvez, aka one of the most haunted paintings in the world. This is a portrait of Bernardo de Galvez, a very powerful Spanish military leader. In the early 1900s, the city of Galveston opened a hotel named after him, and in the hotel, they hung this massive portrait of him. Shortly after, spooky things began to happen, and people realized that Bernardo has attached himself to his portrait. A lot of guests have seen his ghost wandering the halls by his portrait. Others complained about feeling very unsettled while passing the painting. Others say that the area around the painting is always very cold. The creepiest thing is that if you try to take a photo of the portrait, it will end up coming out blurry or just completely dark. Your photos will continue to turn out blurry unless you ask Bernardo if it's okay to take a photo of him. Once you get his permission, then you can take a picture of the portrait and it should come out clear. We are now at our 5th and halfway mark with the approaching storm. This painting is quite unique due to the fact that the top of the canvas is actually carved out, giving it kind of a 3D look. The painting has been named the Small Pine and Barn with Approaching Storm painting. It's a very original title. Now, what's the big deal about this painting, you ask? Well, it was created by serial killer Jeremy Jones. Jeremy claimed to have taken the lives of 21 women in 5 different states over the course of 12 years. He was finally caught in 2004 after he killed his neighbor and set her home on fire. And this is another painting that you can purchase if you want art done by a gruesome killer in your home. If you do, it's yours for $625. Moving on to number 4, we have Frida Kahlo. Frida Kahlo was a Mexican painter most famous for her self-portraits featuring her iconic monobrow. But what many people don't know is that she had a very tragic life. At 6 years old, she contracted polio that affected her right leg. As she got older, she developed a permanent limp. Then as a teen, she was injured in a terrible bus accident, during which one of the bus's iron handrails impaled her through her pelvis. As a result, she was unable to have children. A number of her paintings highlight her tragedies, including the Broken Column painting. This painting depicts how she felt after that bus accident. It features Frida with a metal rod in place of her spine. Not only that, but you might notice that in a number of her paintings, she's surrounded by monkeys. While monkeys were her favorite animal, and in her paintings, they represent the children that she was never able to have. Now, how depressing is that? In our 3rd spot, we have Black Triptychs. Black Triptychs are a series of 3 paintings created by Francis Bacon between 1972 to 1974. They feature a series of blurry abstract men. These paintings were actually inspired by Bacon's lover's death. George Dyer was Bacon's muse and lover. Sadly, he took his own life and Bacon fell into a dark hole. These paintings show views from the moments before, during, and after Dyer's death. After his death, Bacon painted him obsessively, often showcasing how distraught he was by his death. So what you're looking at in this painting is literally a death scene, painted by a heartbroken and traumatized artist. In our 2nd spot, we have The Lovers. With a name like The Lovers, maybe you're expecting a cute, brightly colored painting featuring 2 happy people in love. Well, not even close, I'm sorry. This is a painting completed by Renee Magritte and features a couple kissing with white sheets over their faces. In fact, these paintings were inspired by her mother, who took her life when Renee was only 13. Her mother jumped into a river and drowned herself. Renee saw her get pulled out of the water and noticed that her mother's nightgown had slipped over her face, covering it. This traumatizing image of her dead mother inspired this piece of work. For years, she was haunted by this image of her mother. Now, how dark and depressing is that one? It just keeps getting worse and worse, guys. And in our number one spot today, we have the severed heads. And just like the painting's name suggests, it features two severed heads. Now, this piece was painted by artist Theodore Géricault, who is known for his dark and scary paintings. It features a woman's recently decapitated head next to a man's decaying head. Clearly, he's been dead for more time than her. Now, here's what makes this painting even more messed up. Theodore was so obsessed with death that apparently he kept real dismembered body parts and cadavers in his studio. So the heads we see in the painting were real heads he had in his studio that he drew. He obtained the male's head after it had been chopped off by a guillotine. How great is that?
Kicking off the list at number 10, the creation of Adam. We'll start this list off with one of the most famous paintings of sculptor and artist Michelangelo. The creation of Adam. You've seen it at one point or another, or you've seen it referenced at one point or another. It was painted back in 1508. The poster of E.T. was inspired by this painting. With little hands, little phone home. Memes have been on a whole new level thanks to Michelangelo in this piece. But what's the dark background here exactly? Perhaps the plethora of naked folks in the sky, all bunched up together? Not exactly. It was known that back in the 1500s, Michelangelo used to dissect bodies, all in the name of art. Of course, why not? He would create anatomic artwork. That's why his creation of Adam kind of looks like he's crawling out of an organ. To be honest, I never noticed it at first. Now, I can't unsee it. That's definitely the inside of a body. The Sistine Chapel has many dark pieces of art. I may or may not mention another. Number 9, Bill Clinton. We've all heard that clip downloading music growing up. You know, I did not have sexual relations with that woman. Like, bro, I'm trying to listen to Christmas music. What is this? Whose voice is this? What did I download? Why is this computer not working anymore? I'm so grounded. Back in 2006, former US President Bill Clinton showed off this beautiful portrait of himself done by the incredible artist John Nelson Shanks. As far as portraits go, this is beautiful, the art is beautiful and all that, but that pose, I mean, I don't know, something's off about it. His stance is like, let me redo it. Like, he just looks uncomfortable, you know? He doesn't look ready yet. Well, that's because the shadow on the left side of the portrait, it's meant to represent Monica Lewinsky. I'm not even lying to you. I knew it. I felt like there was some darkness in here. I'm like, oh, something's off here. There's some shady history around. Pun intended. The artist himself admitted that this was indeed the case. He used the dress shape as symbolism to the scandal while he was creating the artwork. I thought the dark background here was Bill's pants, but well, I was wrong. That's why we're here. We like to educate. Number 8, the Madonna with Saint Giovanni. For this next one, we'll be taking a look at a painting from the 15th century by artist Domenico Ghirlandaio. This painting is currently in the Hall of Hercules in Palazzo Vecchio in Florence. Also, if I'm saying any of these names wrong, you can tell me. It's probably gonna be a lot of them. I'm trying. The painting shows the Virgin Mary, infant Jesus, of course, with a six-pack for some reason. And over her right shoulder, we can see this object floating in the sky. Let's take a closer look at that, shall we? What is that? Is that a drone? A magnetic balloon? A weather balloon? Those weren't around then. What's even more interesting is that a man is looking up at the sky at this object. He's even covering his eyes, shielding the sun to try and get a better look. Man's going blind to try and see what's hovering above him. It's always a good sign as well when your dog is barking at something next to you in the sky. Art historians believe that the object is an angel resembling a cloud, while others believe that it's a clear sign of alien visitors. I'm others. I'm like, oh, E.T., the whole thing, this is starting to make more sense now. What do you guys think? Was this the 15th century version of drawing the sun at the top corner of your painting? Or did this mystery artist just document UFO footage with his own brush? Number 7, Cafe Terrace at Night. Upon first glance, you can tell this is a piece done by the fabulous Vincent van Gogh. The blue tones, the streaks. I did the Van Gogh experience downtown Toronto and it was mesmerizing, honestly. The floor is moving, I was like falling into the walls and everything, it was great. While his 1888 oil painting, Cafe Terrace at Night, looks like a quiet late night summer dream, it's actually pretty dark when you start looking closely. I'm not a Van Gogh expert by any means, but Jared Baxter, he is. Back in 2015, Jared brought forth this idea that Cafe Terrace at Night was really Van Gogh's version of The Last Supper. This figure in the center with long hair and 12 surrounding individuals, one of which is slipping into darkness. It checks out. He also says there are hidden crucifixes in this painting. I knew there was something spiritual about that Van Gogh exhibit. I knew it all around me. I'm like, is that a floating crucifix? Where'd it go? It's gone. Number 6, Medusa. Another one of the most recent paintings on today's list is Medusa by Caravaggio. It was done back in 1597. Crazy that that's a recent painting. That's so long ago in my head. And this photo, I'll admit right off the bat, is a little bit haunting. It's a little gory, it's a little graphic. But where does this idea come from? What compels a person to spend this long on a scary painting? The entire time I'd be like, We all know the story of Medusa, the woman with, snakes for hair. When you look at them, you turn to stone and then you're stuck forever and it's horrible. Well, this is a painting that really captures her essence, her beauty, really just, her complexion is so nice, her snake complexion. The snakes really add to the moment, without taking away. The blood oozing out of her neck also draws the eye. It's a nice accent. This painting was meant to be a depiction of the defeat of Medusa, obviously. The legend goes that Perseus, who is the son of Zeus and Danae, was given a shield by Athena. He took said shield to battle Medusa, and he managed to outsmart her by letting her catch a glimpse of her own reflection in that shield. Bam! You played yourself. Yeah, she turned herself into stone, and then this is when he took his sword out and, you can probably fill the rest in. You've seen Game of Thrones. A happy moment, perhaps? I don't know. Imagine having this in your home. I wouldn't sleep. That's terrifying to look at. Number 5, the Mona Lisa. No way she's on this list. What is she up to? How can the Mona Lisa possibly be on this dark messages list? She's literally just... She's chilling out, she's so calm. Another masterpiece from Da Vinci, coming from the 15th century. There's already been, of course, hundreds of theories surrounding this painting. Like perhaps she could have been pregnant, given her stance with the hands doing the thing. And the veil over her shoulders, those were worn often by pregnant women during the Italian Renaissance. But back in 2011, a clue was found in the painting. Yeah, a clue, like we're national treasure all of a sudden. Silvano Vincetti supposedly found letters and numbers painted into her eyes. Teeny tiny microscopic numbers and letters. How fun is that? Yeah, I was at my desk earlier and my forehead was like touching my computer screen. I was like, really? Are you sure? I was looking, couldn't find anything. My eyes aren't that great. The L over her right eye stands for Leonardo, and in the other eye, there's a 72, the numbers 7 and 2. We believe so far this relates to Christianity and Judaism. 7, the creation of the world, and 2, the duality of men and women. Meanwhile, I'm over here drawing that really cool S. I think I nailed that, I'm not gonna lie. Number 4, The Ambassadors. This one got me, I'm not gonna lie, I got the creeps after this. The Ambassadors is a painting from 1533. I've seen this one before, as I'm sure you have at one point or another. Hans Hobient the Younger's painted this lovely room with, scholars. There's a globe, a mandolin, to pass the time, help inspiration, that's why we get mandolins. We have one in the corner here at the studio. Chris whips it, often. But at the bottom, we see an anamorphic skull. It makes you want to cock your head around almost. It doesn't seem to fit in properly. Like the angle of the skull is wrong. It looks like whenever I try and use Photoshop, it's just something's off. Experts believe this was done intentionally to remind us that death is around the corner. So when I was looking at this, I was like, why is that doing that? And I'm like, oh, death is around the haunting. Next, number 3, The Old Guitarist. Any fans of Game of Thrones on here? Well, this next one gives off major White Walker vibes. The Old Guitarist is, well, exactly what you think. It's an old man, hunched over, white hair, playing a guitar. This would be creepy regardless, just on its own. But when Pablo Picasso was putting together this masterpiece back in the early 1900s, he had some tricks up his sleeve. At the end of the 1900s, in 1998, researchers used infrared on the painting. Again, National Treasure style for some reason. And this time, it wasn't a hidden message, it was a hidden woman. Yeah, another woman was painted underneath the elderly man. So because this paint is naturally fading now, she's becoming more and more clear to see. That is so deep. That's the most deep thing. Am I into art? Am I enjoying art? Am I researching? This is fun. I like this. Number 2, Netherlandish proverbs. Back in 1559, Peter Bruegel the Elder, great name, created this oil painting, and we're still trying to unravel everything in here. And this painting, for one, it's massive. There's a lot going on. It's on display currently in the Gemälde Gallery in Berlin. It's got a lot going on, and when you really start to focus, you can see some weird going on in this painting. What is that guy doing? That guy's banging his head off the wall. Walter White's been throwing pizzas on the roof for some reason. That fish ate a bigger fish. This dude fell off an ox onto a donkey. What kind of heist was going on in this town? What is happening? Ah, I see. It's supposed to be horrible. Lovely. Proverbs were a hot topic back in the 1500s. Apparently, over 100 Dutch proverbs and idioms are seen in this painting. He also aimed to illustrate the stupidity of man, and given how much of a show this town looks like, I'd say Peter nailed it. And finally, number 1, the Arnolfini portrait. This one is the most impressive paintings on our list. I am a sucker for reflections. And for this one, we'll be looking at Jan van Eyck's painting from 1434. It's quite old, the oldest on our list. This is an oil painting titled the Arnolfini Portrait. It shows Giovanni da Niccolao Arnolfini, his wife, and a little doggo. In the background, that's where things get mysterious. There's a mirror, a painted mirror. It's been widely believed that Jan is in the painting themselves. We love an artist cameo, nice. I'm actually in that wall too. Believe it or not, you just can't see me yet. It hasn't been long enough. Also, written in Latin above the mirror, there's a message, a Latin message. Let's do it. The message reads, Jan van Eyck was here, 1434. That's gotta be the oldest blank was here of all time. Even older than Brooks was here from Shawshank Redemption. That was pretty old. A message like that with the artist hidden in the painting, that gives me goosebumps all around, and I'm not really entirely sure why.